Coach, it's Michael Kay and Dave Rothenberg today. How you doing?
I'm doing well, fellas.
I know that sports and coaches are creatures of habit. So what's happening with the Jets in Buffalo, obviously the thing that's going on with the people of Buffalo, much more important. But when we get past that, how tough is it for Doug Marrone, the Bills coach, to put together a team to play wherever they do play without his players even getting to practice?
Well, that would be very difficult. I think even though they're familiar with one another by virtue of being a division team, you still need a very, very thorough review, particularly when you play the Jets, because defensively they do some things that require some special preparation on the part of the opponent's offense centered around the pass protection. So to get that all zeroed in and to get it all coordinated and to let the players know exactly what they're going to do to combat some of this pressure, you need to kind of get that and review it. And, doing it over the phone or, on paper isn't the same as seeing it live on the field. So I think it'll be a little difficult.
How hard is it, Coach, for players, coaching staff, an entire organization to keep their focus when you have 7 feet of snow, you can't get together, you have no idea where a game is going to be played in 3 days from right now?
Well, certainly it's not the most comfortable thing. It's when you're separate, as you said, you're not talking things over. The offensive line isn't meeting together. The secondary isn't getting to iron out the things that they need to iron out prior to the game. But you know what? That's the way football is sometimes. Sometimes the unexpected's going to happen, and the teams that are resilient enough to just take it in stride, okay, this is the way it is, but it's no excuse for not playing well and being alert and being sharp and blocking and tackling. There's no excuse for not doing that. So if you can just go out there with that and get the game underway, and you can kind of figure out what they're doing as you go sometimes.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the slings and arrows that have been pointed toward Tom Coughlin. Tiki Barber said that he should be fired, that he has lost the locker room, that his players defended him. We had Antonio Pierce on the show, and he felt that his time is up, that he should be fired. What do you think about this? You're watching. I know you're a big Tom Coughlin fan. Do you think that he's lost the team? Do you think it's right for these players to say this stuff?
Well, they're part of the media, so they have a right, to their own opinion and to say whatever they want to say. That doesn't mean I have to agree with it. And the question is, okay, you want to fire him? Who are you going to get that's better? And who are you going to get more experience? Who are you going to get that knows what's going on better than the guy you got? Now, it ends for all of us at some point in time, but I don't think that we're talking about someone that's incompetent here. I think his history shows that he's not incompetent. And, it's a little rough spot right now, and it's, the coach gets pointed at, but the players need to look at themselves as well.
What would you need to see, Bill? What would you need to see from the Giants or Coughlin or this organization for you to say, you know what, I think it is time for Coughlin to move on?
Well, I would have to see someone that doesn't want to continue to do the job, that feels like, he's done mentally. And I don't get that impression from being around Tom the time I've been around him. I don't get that at all. This is a hard job now. This is not something that's just, you 8 hours and you go home and forget about it. This is a 24/7, pretty much 365 days a year, except for a couple of weeks in the summer. And so you're on it all the time, and it can get to people, especially when things aren't going well. But as far as his competence level goes, then I have no doubt. And I know who can coach and who can't coach, and this guy can coach.
I'm interested, Bill, you always hear players say, well, lost the locker room, people in the media lost the locker room. I don't know how that manifests itself. You coached in many places. Did you ever lose the locker room where you felt players tuned out?
Well, there are always a couple of players that you're not sure that you have their undivided attention. You always got a couple. When you put 53 in one room and the various issues that some of them have, you're not always sure you're getting 100% attention from all of them. But losing the players and losing the team, I don't know where that comes from. It sure doesn't seem to be coming out of the locker room itself.
Right.
It's coming from ancillary sources and people that used to play and things like that. So, the guys who used to play are just like the guys that used to coach or used to broadcast, dinosaurs.
I'm wondering this, though, Coach. Like Jeff Van Gundy has told me before, when you're with a professional team, he said, if the roster doesn't turn over, he says, and you're there 4 or 5 years, they've heard all the stories, all the motivational techniques. He said, that's probably the time to get out. Do you buy that?
No, but, I understand what Jeff is saying, and I do think you need to integrate new people in. I do, but not just for that reason. I think you have to have an insurgence of youth every year because they bring not only eagerness but competitiveness, and it's a kind of a refreshing thing to start coaching young players that you think have a good future. By the same token, having good, solid veterans on your team is a priceless thing for a coach because they can be invaluable when it comes to hard times. And, some of these veterans are really good to have on your team, and some of them are not so good. So that's what you have to evaluate.
So if you still think Coughlin has it, and he's still a very solid coach in this league, then...
Listen, there's no thinking about it.
Okay. So if you know that Tom Coughlin...
I'm pretty certain that I know who can do what in this business, and I'm pretty certain that he can prepare a team to play.
Okay, fair enough. So if you know that Tom Coughlin still has it and hasn't lost anything, why are the Giants 3-7? Is it the fact that they're just not a talented football team?
I told you last week, I think they need better players at some critical positions. I think they're short on linemen and linebackers, linemen both sides of the ball, and linebackers. I thought that, the receiver position was going to be eventually okay with their draft, but then you lose Cruz and things like that. That affects that. So it's kind of a domino. It's a domino effect. They don't really run it very well. They need to learn to block better or get guys that can block better. And when you can do that, then you pass protect better, you run better, you have more balance, and your offense can be a little bit more effective. Defensively, you got to pressure the quarterback somehow. And if you don't do that, they've lost a couple linebackers now that are key players for them. They're playing with backline linebackers. And so it's just the whole thing kind of dominoes. Now, it happens to everybody to some degree during the course of the NFL season. But if it happens at the wrong time and you get on a losing streak at the wrong time like the Giants have, then it haunts you for the rest of the year.
How did the Giants beat the Cowboys this Sunday night?
Excuse me, what did they what?
How do they beat the Cowboys this Sunday night, the Giants?
Well, the first thing they have to do is make them one-dimensional, because right now they're a balanced offense. They can run, and they've got a lot of firepower offensively at the receiver and the tight end position.
So what would you choose, stopping the run or the pass, if you had to stop one of them?
If you can't stop the run, then it's over.
Right.
It's you can't control anything because you can't control down and distance. At least if you can stop the run, you can control down and distance, force them into a little bit longer conversion yardage, and hopefully you can defend good enough to make some plays on third down.
It seems like Eli and Coughlin are the two guys that get the brunt of the blame for the Giants' failures right now at 3-7. So let me ask you, your take on the Giants' quarterback right now as he stands so far this season.
I've said this a lot of times. You're not playing solitaire out there. You have to have enough help to be functional. And right now, I think the situation with their offensive line is a very difficult situation for any quarterback. I think, they can't really run it there very well, and or they haven't been able to do that consistently all year. As a result, the third down conversions, are more difficult. The quarterback definitely gets pressured, and as a result, he gets forced into errors. And that happens to all quarterbacks that get pressured.
All right, 2 quick hits before we let you go. The Saints are losing at home, but at the last loss, Drew Brees said, you know what, I think we're going in the right direction. Do you think they are, or is he just saying what he has to say?
Well, you could have fooled me. The 2 home games for New Orleans, that's a kick in the stomach pretty good. Now, they got another one here with Baltimore coming up, so they're running out of time. Fortunately, they're in a division which probably going to go to the last week. It looks like it probably will. Now, I don't know that it will, but it looks like it could go to the last week because it looks like it's a pretty average division from top to bottom. So, I mean, they still have a chance if they play well. But, losing these home games at this time of year, that's not good news.
How impressive and how many quarterbacks have you ever seen play at a higher level than Aaron Rodgers is playing at right now?
Playing great. He's playing great. And he's got enough balance offensively to help him. And the defense is feeding off that. So they're definitely a threat, I think, in the NFC. I really still don't trust their defense completely, what I've seen. If they get in a real good scuffle with somebody, but their firepower offensively and the way this guy's playing, there's only about 4 or 5 guys in the league that you can put in that category. So he's playing on a very, very high level now.
I know we still have 6 weeks left of the NFL season. Do you think it's realistic with Drew Stanton that the Arizona Cardinals can go to the Super Bowl?
To the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Arizona has something going right now. And I don't know that it's not a fleeting thing. They've got tough competition the rest of the way. I mean, they got through a tough game last week, and they've managed to get through these games somehow, and that's why they're where they are. So, they do this a couple of more times, and you're not going to be able to get them out of the playoffs no matter what you do. But they do have Kansas City. I think they have Seattle a couple times, or once, and San Francisco twice. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Seattle twice and San Francisco once.
That's right.
And Kansas City. And those are tough tasks. And I still think they have the Rams, and the Rams are more capable than people think. So, if the Cardinals win that division, they will have earned it because they've run a pretty good gauntlet right now. Do I think they're going to do it? I don't trust them myself. But they're doing a good job convincing everybody in the league that they're someone to be reckoned with.